We are standing on Granite, and the whole Sierra Nevada mountain range, over 370 miles, is made of granite. And it makes us think and wonder, when did this granite get here? How did this granite get here? Welcome to Yosemite National Park. I'm Dr. Brian Thomas, Institute for Creation Research, and it is just a beautiful day here. But as we look at the park, we are standing on Granite, and the whole Sierra Nevada mountain range, over 370 miles, is made of granite. And it makes us think and wonder, when did this granite get here? How did this granite get here? And then second, across the valley, we can see hanging valleys. Have you ever heard of a hanging valley? It's like a valley, then it just leads to a cliff, and then boom, it's like someone cut with a knife. So there's a little waterfall, and it trickles right off the end of the valley into the greater, larger valley that's between us and the ridge opposite. So these are mysteries. And I just wanted to outlay some of the ways that we can think about how and when these granites formed and got shaped in the perspective of the Bible's timeline. So we think that these granites rose up from melt and they intruded into sediments that had already been deposited. We think that these flat-lying, broadly extensive sediments were deposited early in Noah's flood, because they don't happen anywhere else today. That you don't get broad, flat-lying sediments anywhere today, but they happened everywhere in the past. Hint, hint, Noah's flood happened everywhere in the past. But then granite plunged up through those sediments. How do we know? Because at the edges of this mountain range, you could look up and see where the sediments were pushed aside as the granites came up. That means these granites must have been rising up through the earth, through the crust, late in Noah's flood, perhaps? And so that means, wow, these granites formed very recently, since the Bible's timeline gives us about 4,500 years ago for Noah's flood. But then what about those hanging valleys? And behind me we have these beautiful hanging valleys. In fact, there's two enormous stair steps, one hanging valley above and then another hanging valley below. And those valleys are shaped like a letter U. So we are convinced that a glacier carved out that valley. And at one point, we think that even as the glaciers were grinding through the rock and carving out the U-shaped valleys, even at the same time, these magmas were being pushed up from beneath. Now, what would push all this rock up through? I mean, what massive forces can we imagine? What would have done that? Well, enter catastrophic plate tectonics. So catastrophic plate tectonics is a way to answer that question. And it's a mechanism for the flood. So what does the Bible say? All the fountains of the deep burst forth, Genesis 7:11, and that's the start of the flood. And so we have fountains of the great deep, right? So deep places of the earth bursting through the crust. And then at some point, middle of the flood year, we're convinced, based on other evidence, those rifts or those tears in Earth's crust some of them started to separate. And the formation of the Pacific Ocean happened during the flood. The formation of the mountains happened late in the flood. And even, we're convinced here, the mountains were still forming after the flood, as the ice, by the way, from the Ice Age, which happened after the flood and happened because of the flood. And those glaciers that were once here carved out these U-shaped valleys as the rock was rising, and then finally the valley floor below was carved at the end of the Ice Age. So we have rapid emplacement of granites, we have catastrophic plate tectonics, where we have lithosphere, which is seafloor rock, and it's slamming into the west coast. and then it plunges beneath the west coast of North America, and then it hits a hot zone down near the mantle, and it melts because it's really, really hot as it's flowing fast. It melts those rocks down beneath, and then those rocks melt, and as they melt, they rise up to form the Sierra Nevadas. So rapid and recent. And it explains hanging valleys, it explains granites, it explains sheer cliffs that we still have here, and it's all within the context and the time frame of Noah's flood that the scripture reveals to us. So hanging valleys, evidence for a recent, rapid ice age here at Yosemite.